Hi all, welcome back to Sci-Fi Quest. Okay, so time to react to Strange New World Season 2 Episode 8, Under the Cloak of War. Thing is, they've got a lot to live up to with the with Episode 7, especially considering they dropped it early and it was an outstanding episode. So I don't know what they're going to be able to do to actually best it. And I don't think they will be able to, because episode 7, yeah, those those old scientists, how are they even going to be able to measure up to that? Especially considering that we've got a musical episode coming up, which is not one that I'm looking forward to. Comment down below if you're looking forward to the musical episode, the Starship Rhapsody, I believe it's called. But yeah. Right. Let's get straight into this, shall we? Wow, right off the bat. The very first thing we see on the new episode that is not a recap is a very, very interesting looking ship. Single nacelle. Yeah, it's a understandable. Small science vessel, maybe. What does that say? It's a USS Kelsey May. Am I pronouncing that right? Kelsey May? Interesting name. I wonder who that's named after. It must be a historic character, right? But we had some interesting things in the recap as well, because I actually showed the opening battle and discovery as part of the recap, which I'm not sure about, because I mean, you'd think that they would use have recaps from from Strange New Worlds, not including Discovery. I mean, I suppose it's pre Strange New Worlds, but I don't know why they would even bother to include it, to be honest. But it's a very interesting looking ship, Kelsey May. Doesn't look like there's a registry number. Can't see a registry number. So interesting. USS Kelsey May. We do have some escape pods, and they look like they might actually collide with the lower hull there. There's an overlap. Because you can see three what look like escape pods. Two of them are clear, but one of them's obscured, so you would think that that maybe would collide with the hull of the ship. I'm assuming that there's three on each side, so it's not a huge ship. You can tell that just by looking at it. But interesting design. It's very interesting. It's almost like it's a starliner, if that makes sense. It looks very much like a starliner. Very sleek. Yeah, that definitely does look like some sort of transport ship. Doesn't look like it would be much of a sorry, science ship. I was about to say sci-fi ship. It is a sci-fi ship, but doesn't look much like a science ship. So maybe it's a civilian transport or Starfleet transport of some sort. Be interesting to find out. So let's see. Well, I'm watching this at 8:08 a.m. GMT, so it's only just dropped on Prime. Yeah, on Prime. I'm watching it through Prime, but it is Paramount Plus. Okay, let's get back into it. A Klingon ambassador, Ambassador Dagra. It was quite difficult to make out because they said it. If they slowed down when they were saying it, it would have been a lot easier to make out. But it sounds like Dagra. So he likes to be called Ra, apparently. Obviously, he doesn't mean Ra as in the Egyptian god. Because Ra is the Egyptian sun god, right? So maybe, but I don't think there's any actual connection there. To be honest, it might not be Ra, it might be Raul, Klingon name. And I like the way he says Klingon full Klingon names are a mouthful, especially in English. And I must say, it is really nice to see a Klingon that looks like this. I mean, it's very much like the Klingons that we know and love, and it's really good. But I find that the visual appearance of the Klingons, they still look a bit animated to me. They don't look as realistic as the TNG, DS9 and Voyager ones do, or the Enterprise ones, to be, as a matter of fact, because they all look the same, and the cosmetics are very similar. But I mean, I think they look very animated. They don't look very realistic, in my opinion. It might just be the way the lights are, but I mean, they look rubbery, is what I'm trying to say, I suppose. So Ortega seems a bit very paranoid about having a Klingon on board. Now, I don't think that she is justified being paranoid because, she's not a security officer. The one person, well, there are three people on board that should be a little bit concerned about having a Klingon officer, a former enemy Klingon officer on board, and that would be Pike, number one, and La'an, because La'an is the chief of security. So those are the three people that should be concerned. Ortega shouldn't really be concerned about anything other than piloting the ship. I mean, I know she was in the captain's chair, so I'm assuming that Pike gave her the con, but yeah, I don't see why Ortega would be paranoid except for the fact that she fought during the war. It's not paranoia, it's, I don't know, it's her experience with the Klingons. Plain and simple. I mean, your experience with an enemy outweighs your openness for peaceful existence, essentially coexistence, I believe. So he admires Federation ships. He actually mentioned the Klingon bird of prey. So does that mean we're actually going to see a TOS bird of prey? I wonder what that will look like. I wonder if it will be more like a I wonder if it'll be more like the bird of prey from Enterprise. I hope not, because we know that the Burrell class is an old ship, even for the TMP era. So if it was around in the TMP era, then technically it should have been around during TOS and before. So yeah, the only consistency issue there is with the Klingon ships is the cloaking devices. They shouldn't have cloaking devices in Strange New Worlds or Discovery, because if you remember, I think it was the Enterprise incident. That's when we first see that the Klingons were trading battle cruisers for cloaking devices. So they actually got their cloaking devices from the Romulans. Discovery kind of killed that in canon, but I'd still like to believe that that was true. Maybe maybe their new ship designs had an issue with the cloaking devices. That would have made sense. They could have done something to re-establish canon when it comes to the Klingons with the cloaks. So a friend of mine actually said, he thought that the Klingons gave the Romulans the cloaking device. But if I remember correctly, the Romulans got it from another alien race, didn't they? So they didn't actually develop the cloaking device themselves. They essentially stole it or traded it, like they do with the Klingons for the battle cruisers. But we'll find out. mean, I'm sure we're going to see some Klingon ships um, in the last few episodes. I mean, I know we see some battle cruisers in the trailer, so I'm assuming that that's going to be that might be the final episode. But saying that, that could be this episode. Is this the episode where we're going to see Enterprise alongside two D7s? That would be nice. I have to say that for a Klingon, this soon after the war in Discovery, so this soon after the war, for a Klingon, he's very respectful and very calming. He's like he's not the tough, ready for battle type of Klingon. He's very diplomatic. That must be why he's a ambassador, because he's a very diplomatic and approachable Klingon, I suppose you could say. Because I mean, I'm getting the impression that he's a very approachable Klingon, and that even though he heard Ortega say, call him by the butcher of, I can't remember the battle, but even though he heard that, I mean, he didn't smile or grin or anything. He just had no facial expression whatsoever. So he's very respectful, and and if he comes on board as a former enemy, and and he gives off that kind of feeling, I think genuinely, he's actually a nice guy, especially for a Klingon, because we know how Klingons are aggressive and honourable until they're not. So Spock is trying to create a Raktachino, especially for his their honoured guest. And for interestingly, Raul seems to be, um, you know, doesn't he's very un-Klingon. I mean, he's even referencing his own people as being warmongers and idiots, basically. So it's interesting. I'm wondering what's going to happen. I mean, I'm surprised that another Klingon hasn't killed him already, to be honest, or his family hasn't been dishonored. But then, he apparently turned against the Klingons during the war, so he would also be considered a traitor. Interesting. It's very interesting. This might actually be a better episode than I was expecting. Is my imagination, or have they got a replicator too early in the timeline? Because replicators didn't appear until TNG. So, I mean, even in the movie era, they didn't have them. I mean, I know we get protein resequencers, but this one actually replicates a cup as well as a beverage. So this is actually a replicator, which is kind of weird because they said it's a food they said before that they have a food synthesizer, but I mean, would a food synthesizer really be able to be do the same job as a replicator? But then we know that they've got holographic technology that they shouldn't actually have in this era. So, I suppose we can take it with a pinch of salt. We know how Strange New Worlds and modern Star Trek seems to like to skate around canon a bit. I suppose we could let it go. I suppose it's interesting that they're going this way, but I mean, it just doesn't make sense that they would have a replicator. Food synthesizer, maybe, but a replicator, no. I don't think they would have it because in the in the last episode, the crossover episode, they why didn't Mariner use it to replicate the Orion drink? It's I don't know. I just don't get it. it's too soon. I think it's way too early for them to have this tech. Maybe on a large scale, but not on a small scale like that. I mean, that's smaller than the TNG replicator. I mean, seriously, that's just insane. I don't know. Um, I really don't know. Here's a continuity issue. No, I don't have a problem with the fact that Nurse Chapel is a civilian nurse, not a Starfleet nurse. So what the hell is she doing in a battlefield in the first place? But this is like 4 years earlier or something. And interestingly, they mentioned that this guy, I can't remember his name. He's obviously he's not. I don't think he's going to be a returning character anyway. But he says that it cost him a case of Romulan ale to get her there. Um, is it my imagination, or is it a continuity issue that they wouldn't have had Romulan ale at this early? Because I mean, yes, in the past they would have known about the Romulans, i.e., Enterprise, but would they really have Romulan ale before Balance of Terror? I don't get it. I mean, does that make sense to you guys? Comment down below and let me know, because it doesn't make sense to me. It's another continuity issue. But you know, I just don't understand why Nurse Chapel, who when she came onto the Enterprise in season 1, it was mentioned and quoted that she is a civilian nurse. She's not Starfleet. And I think I've said this before. What is she still doing on Enterprise? You know, over a year later or whatever, or however long it's been. It doesn't make any sense to me, at least. But I mean, it's just issues that you know, and plot holes, if that makes sense. I mean, would you describe it as a plot hole? Because I'm not sure, but I think it's a continuity issue. Um, I'll be interested to see if they've got the old Discovery uniforms or the newer Strange New Worlds uniforms. Because if I remember correctly, there's a crashed shuttle that is very, very Strange New Worlds current. You know, the new shuttles that they've got. Because even in this season, they actually say that they're new shuttles. It's a new shuttle design. And if I remember correctly, they find a crashed shuttle from the Klingon Federation War that is the new shuttle, when continuity would suggest that it should be a Discovery shuttle, but I don't know. I don't know. But so let's see how it goes. I'm sorry if I'm stopping it and talking about things that you don't want to listen to, but it's just something that came to my thoughts as I was watching this. So it might make more sense to me the second time I watch it, but you know, the first time it's just I don't know. I just don't know. It's a few things. So it seems that a lot of the crew are suffering from PTSD from the Klingon War. So, I mean, would that not make them unfit for service at that level of PTSD? And we've got Mbenga and Degal, DeGra, however you pronounce it. Yeah, and then now they're going to have full contact fight. Is Mbenga going to go over the top and attempt to kill DeGra? Funny thing is, it's DeGra sounds a lot like Degra. It does sound a lot like Degra from Enterprise. The Zindi scientist. So DeGra seems to have used Dr. Mbenga's crimes during the war to further his career as an ambassador and try and heal himself, without knowing that Mbenga was actually the real butcher of Jagal, which is what Degra was using to gain influence. And I just realised, I can't believe I've had the Babylon 5 logo up this whole time. I thought I didn't. I wasn't paying much attention to my background. Sorry about that, guys. Next time I will not make that mistake. But it looks like Chapel is definitely covering for Mbenga, which makes sense. They're close friends. But I'm surprised it didn't come up with Mbenga's DNA on the handle, at least. Okay, so yeah, I liked that episode. I'd definitely say it was a good episode, in my opinion. Sorry about the Babylon 5 logo that's been on there for most of this video. I was meant to do a Babylon 5 reaction video, but I ended up doing Strange New Worlds episode 7 reaction. So yeah, I had it all set up for Babylon 5, but ended up not getting round to it. But you know, like I said, this is a good episode. I like it. There's a few continuity issues, in my opinion, and they had a very Strange New Worlds uniform for the flashback scenes, which I would have thought it would have been better. It would be. I know they did say at one point no more Discovery uniforms, but it would have been better to have them in the flashbacks scenes, because just for continuity on its own, you know, it would have made sense in my opinion. But yeah, altogether it's a good episode. Not a lot happened. It was but it was. I feel that was very Star Trek in my opinion. Apart from the Mbenga stuff, which you know for a Doctor doesn't make an awful lot of sense, to be honest. But yeah, it's a good episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you know, hit that thumbs up, give us a like, you know, subscribe, and click that notification bell if you want to see more. At the same time, you can follow me on Facebook, you can follow me on Twitter. You can also find me on Patreon, Discord, and Rumble. So, come on, guys. Come and have a chat. I'll see you again soon. Live long and prosper. Take care.